All right, I'm good. All right, and I'm going to need the pen. All right, so I take it everyone read this week's Parsha Torah portion. If not, we're going to find out today anyway. All right, so what's the Torah portion called? Is it highlighted in yellow? Okay, Behalotcha. Okay, Behalotcha. All right, so we'll start in the English up top here. Bemidbar Numbers 8:1 and 2. It says, and Yahuwah spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aharon, Aaron, and say unto him, when you go up, or you set up, realistically, when you light the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light over against the candlestick. So this lesson we're going to go over is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to talk about lights and candlesticks per se. All right, so in the Hebrew, I'm sure we're all ready. The first one is really easy, this one here. So as my pen goes across it, we should be good, right? Vadiber Yahuwah el Moshe lemor. Okay, and it says, speaking to Aaron, it says, and Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, what did he say? Deber el Aharon, right? Up top it says, speak unto Aaron, right? And then we got Amarta Elah, right? Which means this is where we're going, right? We're about to go here. We stop right here. We're going to pick up right here. We just said all of this right here so far. All right. So here we go. What's this say? Bahalotcha et hanerot el mul penei. I guess I'll just do this by myself, huh? All right. Ha menora. Keep going. Yairu. Shibat hanerot. Great. Glad you guys are doing excellent with your Hebrew studies. Hallelujah. We'll keep that going for next week. And I did put next week's on here, so we're going to do this next week. So I'm going to give you guys a head start. All right. So before we get into the heart of the actual lesson, these are just really highlights that I wanted you guys to really think about when you guys read or thought about reading the Parsha. If it just came to mind, I just want some things to stand out before we get into the heart of the message. All right. So here we start verse 5. It says, and Yahuwah spoke unto Moses, saying, take the Levites or Luim from among the children of Israel and cleanse them. And thus shall you do unto them to cleanse them, sprinkle water of purifying upon them, and let them shave all their flesh, and let them wash their clothes, and so make themselves clean. Okay? Everyone's good with this here, right? All right. Verse 9. And you shall bring the Luim of the Levites before the tabernacle of the congregation, and you shall gather the whole assembly of the children of Israel together. And you shall bring the Levites before Yahuwah, and the children of Israel shall put their hands upon the Levites. Okay. Remember, we talked about this before. He said, but a transference has taken place, right? Everyone remember this. We talked about this. Great. Verse 12. And the Luim or the Levites shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullocks, and you shall offer of one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering unto Yahuwah to make an atonement for the Luim or for the Levites. Thus shall you, verse 14 says, thus shall you separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. Okay. And after that shall the Levites go in to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and you shall cleanse them and offer them for an offering, for they are wholly given unto me from among the children of Israel, instead of such as opens every womb, even instead of the firstborn of all children of Israel, have I taken them unto me. So remember, technically, had the Levites because of what the Levites did, right? It's the transference of the firstborn goes to the Levites. But remember, initially it was supposed to have been the firstborn that was supposed to do all this work. 18 says, and I have taken the Lewim Levites for all the firstborn of the children of Yashral or Israel. Okay. So we went over these things. We can keep going. 24 says, this is it that belongs unto the Lewim or the Levites from 20 and 5 years old and upward. They shall go in to wait upon the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. And from the age of 50 years, they shall cease waiting upon the service thereof and shall serve no more, but shall minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of the congregation to keep the charge and shall do no service. Thus shall you do unto the Levites, the Lewim, touching or watching their charge. Okay. How's everybody with this so far? Okay. So let's see. In the Hebrew here, we have, what's this say here? Yeshub, right? Which means it's saying cease. I really don't like King James definition here, but realistically it's like return. You return from doing something, right? But it's translated as cease, right? Then it has what? Misbah, right? So the mem is the prefix is from, and then sabah is like sibaot in the plural, army, but also it means some form of hosting, if you will. So this is why we have that there. And then ha'aboda, right, which is the service. So we say they will no longer be hosting the service. Right, they're going to be there, meaning they're going to minister. What's the Hebrew word for minister? Servant. Sharat. Okay. So Visharet is how it's out there, but it's the root word is sharat, which means minister, to attend as a, or a worshiper. All right. So yeah, they're going to be there, but they're not going to be inside doing what they used to do. They're going to actually make sure that things are going smoothly or transitioning good. Yeah. Let me make sure you're doing that right. Yep. Great. Looking good. Let's keep up the good work. All right. 9:1-5 says, and Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe and Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they were come out of the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, saying, let the children of Israel also keep the Pesach at his appointed season and the 14th day of this month at evening. Again, you got to admire the day at evening, but again, it'll be out of the scope of what I would want to talk about. You shall keep it in the appointed season according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it. And Moshe and Moses spoke unto the children of Israel, that they should keep the Pesach, and they kept the Pesach on the 14th day of the first month at evening in the wilderness of Sinai, which means they didn't keep it in Egypt here. Notice where this is going to keep. Anyway, to all that Yahuwah commanded Moshe and Moses, so did the children of Israel. Okay, everyone's good with this. Okay. All right, we'll keep going. It says, and there were certain men who were defiled by a dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Pesach on that day. Who could these people be? Who could be defiled? Who do you think is? Right. Remember, Joseph said, hey, listen, when you leave this land, take my bones with you, because I want my bones to be in the promised land. So they're going to be defiled by a dead body, right? All right. So it says, who were defiled by a dead body of a man, they could not keep the Pesach on that day. And they came before Moshe and Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, we are defiled by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering of Yahuwah in his appointed season among the children of Israel? And Moshe got his cape. He put his cape on. And this is what he said. What did he say? We're saying, stand still. Stand still, and I will hear what Yahuwah will command concerning you. And he took his cape back off. All right. So anyway, and Moshe spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of dead body or sojourn where? Afar off. Notice that's bold. Yet he shall keep the Pesach unto Yahuwah. Now this word here is the word for afar off. Okay. Rakok, which means what? Remote, literally, figuratively, a place or a time abroad, right? So we're still keeping it, be it wherever this is. We're journeying now. Of course, we've been cast out to the four corners. Mind you, they'll still are called to keep this feast day, right? So the 14th day of the second month at eve, they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, which is, again, another interesting thought we'll talk about for Pesach.
Say that they're not able to keep the first Shabbat because nowadays, I'm coming to that, and they can't get off from work.
Come on, Pesach?
Yeah, Pesach. They are they allowed on the second Shabbat to come and take if they can get off that day?
You mean second month?
Second month to
right. Right. So if they can't do it,
right,
then you go to the second month and do it.
Okay.
Or on the first month, you go into your boss, you look him dead in his eye, and you tell them, say, listen to what Yahuwah. Remember what Moshe said? Stand still. That's what you tell your boss. Stand still. Okay? And if you want to understand how unemployment works.
I don't have that problem.
Okay, all right.
I was asking just in case somebody might come and suppose I can't make it.
26 months.
Oh, yeah. Put in your 2 weeks notice. I definitely will have you there by next month. All right, great. We'll have you right. All right. I'll get you that second one. You may not make that first one. All right. Verse 12. They shall leave none of it unto the morning, nor break any bones of it, according to all the ordinance of the Pesach, they shall keep it. But the man that is clean and is not in a journey and forbears to keep the Pesach, and even the same soul shall be cut off from among his people, because he brought not the offering of Yahuwah in his appointed season, that man shall bear his sin. So in other words, if you can do it, you just choose not to do it, then okay, you're in trouble. Yeah, I'll do that my time. Okay, and if a stranger shall sojourn among you and will keep the Pesach unto Yahuwah, according to the ordinance of the Pesach and according to the manner thereof, so shall he do. You shall have one ordinance both for stranger and for him that was born in the land.
Ordinance that's according to Torah, to his instructions. Stranger has to forget.
Right. So whenever we go over what ordinance means, then we'll see how that works. Remember, we always talked about how is it supposed to be exactly done this way? So we'll talk about that when that time comes on April the 3rd at evening. Right? Got it.
Yeah.
Right. And in the manner in which we're going to do that. The manner thereof. All right. So we'll keep going. All right. So what we're going to focus on today is going to be rebellion. Huh? I'm getting better and better at this thing. All right. And then we'll talk about from there the journeys and so forth, right? But for right now, we're going to talk about the rebellion and some things that we might miss dealing with the rebellion. Okay? Any questions up to this point? Ken?
I wanted to ask you, do we get rid of the rest of the lamb?
So it says to burn the bones by morning. Get enough lamb just for you in the household or congregation. Just get enough. They ain't got to be full and sit by the flesh pots. They just need just enough to get their palate right. That's it. All right. Main part of the service. Now we're going to get into this part. kind of color coded for easy understanding for most of it, I would say. All right, so the focus of this parsha will be about our thinking based off of their thinking. So the way that they were thinking, I want us to think about, do we think the same way that they do now? Okay. And that's A. And B, if we do, should we be changing our thinking to his thinking? So we're going to see that we're going to mirror some of their thinking. We saying no now, but we're going to mirror some of their thinking and see. Okay. I mean, not in here in this particular building. Okay. All right. Okay. Just verifying. Okay. All right. So first, oh yeah. Just you're the descendants of these rebellious, stiff-necked people, you said? Okay. Numbers 11:1 says, and when the people complained, it displeased Yahuwah, and Yahuwah heard it, and his anger was kindled. And the fire of Yahuwah burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moshe, and when Moshe prayed unto Yahuwah, the fire was quenched, and he called the name of the place Taberah, right? Because the fire of Yahuwah burnt among them. All right, so they complained, right? Look at this word here, because you're going to see it again. Okay? They complained. Keep this in mind. The next part was it displeased. Look at the word for displeased. Ra. What is ra? There you go. Same word, right? I want you to get these definitions because watch what happens when we do this in a different way. All right. So it became evil in Yahuwah's eyes, right? Then it says what? So not only that, it was what? Kindle, right? So kara, right? To glow, to grow warm. Now I know we don't do this when we get hot, right? So, because I don't see none of us glowing, but I know we grow warm on the inside, right? Blaze up, anger, zeal, jealous, angry, burn, be displeased, earnestly. What do you mean fret self? Okay, grieve, wax hot, kindle. But what does it mean fret self, right? So look, corrosion, worry, vex. So what winds up happening for ourselves, let's just think of ourselves, now Yahuwah is kindling hot, but let's just think about ourselves. When we start to get angry, corrosion is starting to happen inside of you, okay? Worry, vexation, you're vexing yourself, you're worrying yourself. All this stuff starts to take place inside of you, okay? Everyone gets it? All right, and then we got the last one, right? So this one here is Tabera, right? Which is for here, which literally means burning. All right. Now keep this in mind as we keep going. Numbers 11:4 says, listen to what happened now. The mixed multitude, and I've got tares up there for a reason, but the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting, right? So the mixed multitude was among them, just like tares are among the wheat, right? These tares are who? The mixed multitudes. Right. So maybe another lesson or study will talk about who these mixed people were, right? Because you have the Egyptians, you have the Edomites, you have quite a few people actually. Okay. Yeah, they were sojourning with them, but they're the ones that what? They're the ones that fell a-lusting. Keep that in mind. And the children of Israel also wept again. So because of what the tares did, Israel.
You know how it go, Aki.
Okay, well.
Thinking about the good old days. You say,
but so right. I said none of us do this. Remember what I'm sharing. When you're among your own brethren, or who call themselves brethren, don't you start feeling sometimes what they feel? Huh? Don't you start changing sometimes how they change? Right? But I mean, not today, just sharing. Okay. All right. So you start to get how they feel, and we'll talk about lusting in just a minute. Well, what do you think this lusting means here? This type of lusting? desire, lust,
Remembering.
wanting. Okay, keep that in mind.
Memory,
Okay.
reason.
And the children of Israel wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? So the mixed multitude was looking for some good old flesh and some, the fish, and we'll see all the other stuff that they want right here in just a minute. And Israel's like, man, that's what I want too. Wow. What do they have? I remember the fish, right? With which we did eat in Mitzrayim or Egypt freely, I might add. Now, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna before your eyes. And the manna was what? Coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. All right, so we'll see that in just a minute. All right, so now, first of all, they're lusting, longing, delight. They're looking for a specific satisfaction, dainty, desire, exceedingly, greedily, lusting, pleasant. Who else would you say is supposed to have this type of desire?
We should be giving it to the Father.
To the Father?
Decided to have him, not lusted.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is this the same thing that they say an Isha should do to an Ish? What should they do? Okay, so I want you to see, because sometimes they read in English here, lusting or desire is the same word in English. All right, so I don't want us to mix that. The problem is the word here is different from the word in Bereshit 3:16. Okay, so we're not going to read Bereshit 3:16. You can read on your own, but this is the word that they have, right? Okay, so here is what? Teshukha, right? In the sense of longing after, desire, right? And it's telling you it's coming from this word here, right? So you see the root. To run over, overflow, right? This is how she's supposed to be towards the Ish, right? Not, right? See, difference. There's a main difference between the two. All right, so the next one is dried away, okay? Yashab, dried away, to dry up, but it comes from this here. Let's see what type of soul they had, okay? Primitive root to what? Oh, man, I'm ashamed. Man, I really wanted this fish, these leeks, these cucumbers, these melons, these onions, this garlic. Now they're feeling like, well, I'm confounded. I'm dried up. My soul is greed, is lusting after these foods. Is everyone with me so far? Is that good? He said, Well, Israel winds up doing what the mixed multitude did.
They didn't have all that. They didn't have all that.
Oh, yes.
They did.
Absolutely.
It's like now, we got the internet.
Let's look at this as Mitzrayim or Egypt for an example.
Okay.
You can go down to Walmart,
Oh, my
get all the food you want. But if you think you're free, just go to the airport without a passport, tell them you're going to Israel. They're going to say, excuse me, that's not happening, right? So I don't want you to be an illusion, that you're free, okay? You're still stuck, but you have the understanding of being free, right? But you can get whatever you want, right? So we're going to see how this is going to work later on. But for right now, they had all this good stuff. As far as they're concerned, this was great. It is healthy, don't get me wrong. Now they're looking, but all they can see is just this manna for right now, okay? All right, so they got all this good stuff. The mixed multitude lusted after these items, causing Israel to stumble with them, right? They want all this good stuff. All this stuff is looking good, right? And all you got is this manna now. But look at all this good stuff. How many of us would have been the same way?
Oh, yeah.
Could you for 30 days, for 6 months, just eat one thing?
Not today, we couldn't. But
We had another choice, yeah, but.
Huh? So I want you to think back then,
yeah.
every morning,
Manna.
bam, Wake up in the morning, bam. And they're just doing this over and over again. Nothing new.
That's when you could learn how to make other, add stuff to it and be set.
We're going to, now remember you said that, right? Remember you said that. Hold on to her, Sherrod. Hold on to her close. Remember she said that. Well, I want to do this. We're going to see what happens because they did. We're going to see what happens when they did. Make sure you got the camera on and everything. All right. So when you mix doctrine, belief, nation, not sojourning, etc., we create our own desires, what we lust for. Okay, so we see this food, but we also start to see how mentally it can start challenging you as well. Right? Is everyone with me so far? All right, manna. So the color of it was what color? What?
It was different
Like
colors.
bdellium.
Bdellium is not white.
Coriander.
This is the color. This is coriander seed, but it came down like host frost.
Right.
So think about frost on the ground. Something coming from Shamayim from heaven. It comes down like a dew, right? This is the dew on it, but underneath it, this is what you should see. Okay.
Is it rocks?
No, they're soft, but my point is the color wise is this here. It's not. We're commonly thinking that manna is just white. It's this fluffy thing that comes down like nice cakes, you know. And all they do is take up these white cakes. They just told you the color was bdellium, right? Which is that color right there. So I'm just giving you the color here. This is the seed right
So it
here.
wasn't really appetizing to look at.
No, but it's supposed to taste really good. Well, I think we'll find out what that would be in the future. All right. So this is what they want, right? Flesh was not the main course like it is today. However, manna was a picture of what Yahuwah wanted them to eat. Has this happened before? So before we say yes, understand that today we supersize, get the biggest meat possible, the steak. They ask you what ounce of steak you want. You don't want that little baby steak. You want that junior steak. You want the main steak, right? So they've made the meat the main thing to eat and all the vegetables and stuff as secondary. But that's really the opposite over there, right? Really, it's really all the vegetables and the fruit, and bread, and a little bit of meat. But, you know, we think we something when you come to that big old 10-ounce porterhouse. You know, you think you're doing something. And that thing sizzling when it comes to your table. You're really good to go, right? Huh? Oh yeah, now the meat is good. He gave him some good meat.
Yeah.
We're gonna see in just a minute. Okay, so question is, has this happened before? It's happening in Numbers. Didn't this happen before, right? So remember? And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to Elohim, we have died by the hand of Yahuwah in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt. We sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for you have brought us forth into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. And so you remember what he do? He started giving them some quail, right? You remember the story. So again, this is a repeat, but we're going to see why is this repeating itself. All right, this is quail right here. In its finest form. Huh? I know y'all want it.
You know.
Huh? Yeah, that thing look good. All right, so 16:12 says, I have heard the murmuring or the complaining of the children of Israel, speak unto them, saying, at evening you shall eat flesh, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah Elohim. And it came to pass that at evening the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew laid around about the host. Okay, so again, so they had the bread in the morning, quail in the night, right in the evening, right? Is everyone with me so far? Good deal? Okay, so you got to figure out now, for an example, now I would go into why the manna smell and things like that, because remember, if it came down with dew on it, I mean, it's coming from a real cold place from Shamayim, right? It's like a refrigerator, right? But once that thing thaws out, you start eating. Or by morning, it's going to be, okay, great. All right, so again, this is some good stuff here. One day we'll bring some quail to the congregation one day, just so everyone get a good taste of that thing. All right, anyway, comparing the two stories. So we got the Shemot, the Exodus, you got the Numbers, Bemidbar. Look at the two. All right, our homie in is going to be this last part, but you're going to see a little bit, this is slightly interchangeable, but we're going to see, it says, they were complaining, if only we had died in Mitzrayim, right? These are places we already read, right? And he says, oh, we had meat, for we give us this meat, right? So remember also they were like, man, their souls, what? Dried out. Man, I'm about to die. I'm about to die because I can't have meat. Okay. Part 2, we ate of the flesh and the bread to the full. We remembered the fish and the cucumbers and melon, leeks and onions and garlic. Number 3 here says, you brought us out the desert to die of hunger. Our souls are dried up. We have nothing but manna. Okay. So in both stories, they are starting their journeys. One from Sea of Reeds or Red Sea, right? This first one here, they're coming out of Mitzrayim, going through the Red Sea. The second one is they're coming out from Mount Sinai. Okay, so both stories seem to be mirroring each other so far. Is everyone with me so far? Okay, both are given manna and quail in both stories. Both times there were complaints concerning what they used to eat or accustomed to, right? They both had similar longings for things they desired. Everyone with me so far? Great. So comparing the two stories. How can we relate to this pattern today? So I'm just going to give it to you. You don't have to guess. Number 1, the foods we liked compared to foods in the dietary law. So think about the foods you ate before, and then what the Father says, these are the things I want you to eat. Now, the stuff that you liked before, sometimes you can say, well, they were healthy. And other things was they were not healthy. They just taste really good. Once you add some butter, some lemon, some garlic, some leeks, some onions to it, it starts tasting really good then. All right, number 2, laws and or customs we grew up with compared to laws and customs of Yahuwah. Our desire versus his desire. The land or lands in which we were raised compared to the land we desire to be a part of. Number 5, losing or recalibrating our authority to his authority. How we deal with one another compared to how Scripture teaches. In other words, there's a way that we dealt with one another before the walk. Out of sight, out of mind. If I had a shotgun, a 9mm, whatever it is, you're getting it, right? Compared to what Scripture says. So my point here so far is we have to now see what's happening with these stories and then put yourself in these as well, all right? So what is different in the comparing of the stories? Meaning, where are they back in the same predicament? You guys would say? All right. So the last part of the 3 things we compare are not completely the same. Okay. But they are treating it as if they are. We are dried out as if they had nothing except the manna. Okay. All right. So we're going to see that in just a minute. Now compare response of Yahuwah in Shemot. He wanted to try them, meaning in Shemot, he's like, okay, I can accept their murmuring, their complaining because they really don't know me, right? So I got to show them what I can do. I can provide, I can take care of you, I can do all of these things. So he's not heard them, no problem, right? So let's look at that. And then we're going to compare that with what we have now, okay, in this Parsha. So 11:10 says, this is now Parsha. It says, then Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, every man at the door of his tent. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled greatly. Moshe also was displeased. He's like, my goodness. Okay. 13. When should I have flesh to give unto all the people? For they weep unto me, saying, give us flesh that we may eat. Verse 18. And say unto the people, purify yourselves against tomorrow, and you shall eat flesh. For you have wept in the ears of Yahuwah, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? For it is well with us in Mitzrayim or Egypt. Therefore, Yahuwah will give you flesh, and you shall eat. Sounds great, right? Everything's working good. And you shall not eat one day nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days. And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. Then what happens? He that gathered at least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all abroad themselves round about the camp. But look what happens. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, the air means before it was chewed. Okay, so I want you to understand. Oh my goodness! Before that thing got chewed good, the wrath of Yahuwah was kindled against the people, and Yahuwah smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of the place Kerbathawa, which means because they what? They buried the people that lusted. It was a graveyard for all those that lusted there. Okay? Oh, yeah, go get that quail. And they out there, yes, thank you. Yeah, hurry up. Cook that thing up. Smell good. Ooh, they got that thing fired. The minute they could get that first chew, all of a sudden they were in trouble. Okay? All right. So now, mind you, it gets better. So we're going to, next week, we're going to go over some parallels of that. So I'll table that for right now. Huh?
The question was, who is going to give us?
Who?
Mm-hmm.
Who going to give us some meat?
Right.
And after you've already proven himself in the past,
Mm-hmm.
all you really had to do is just ask.
Right. But we're going to see why, because there's more to why he's angry. So for right now, tell me why you believe Yahuwah is angry. Give some ideas.
I know.
Because he listened to those other people.
Okay, so he's angry because
Israel listened to the other people.
okay. Anyone else? Is it
I
something?
think it's because they're not pleased with what he first provided them, which was the manna. They're like, all we have is this manna.
Okay.
We want,
All right. 2 good answers. There's still another. There's one that it really just sinks right in. So guess what that is? I'll tell you in a minute. All right.
I guess for what I'm understanding is like the more the Father gives, the more they want, and they're never satisfied. And at a point, you get tired of that crap.
Okay.
And so I guess he's doing what he got to do.
Right. Right. But there's one other reason that really will set this thing off. This anger will go beyond the scope of
He was angry enough to kill.
right. This anger this is beyond the plague. Okay. This is not I got to kill you.
right.
Right.
I don't think they appreciated what the Most High was doing. I don't think there was any appreciation of respect
Mhm.
or the or I guess I don't think the people didn't respect for what he was doing. They didn't appreciate. All they did was whine and complain,
Mhm.
and they were lusting after things that they no longer had before.
Right. Mm-hmm. There's one other thing.
Well, is it because they
Because-
forgot who he was?
Mm-mm.
No?
One other thing.
They're comparing themselves to Egypt.
One other thing.
All right, let's go.
All right. Says 16:4. Then said Yahuwah to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from Shemayim heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove or test or try them whether they will walk in my laws or no. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day shall the people prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So remember, this is the beginning stage. This is when he coming out of Mitzrayim or Egypt. And he said, I just want to prove to see if you guys are willing to walk in my statutes and laws, right? Of course, in Numbers, they said, I will.
Yeah.
And after they said, I will,
They did not.
they did not, right? But it gets worse than that. That's what I'm saying. There's another part. All right. So what happens if they get hungry later? I want you to think about them in their day. You only giving me what I can eat. Some of us are happy. You can always go to wherever you want to get how much more you like, right? They're now portioned out certain things. I want you to see why this is important. Number 2, I left Mitzrayim, ate really well. What am I to get out of this way of living now? where I can eat whatever I want, whatever I like. Now you're telling me what to eat, and you give me what I'm going to eat, and you even portion it out for what I need, right? So now you're really making something difficult here as far as they're concerned, right? Number 3, I am taking you into the desert to show you, this is Yahuwah, taking you into the desert to show you what I can do for you. First comes with a proving. I got to see if you really can listen to me. Because if you can't listen to me, then we got to abort this whole mission, which you're going to see that first generation didn't make it. Okay, but we'll see that next week. Mm-hmm. Then it says, the next part is verse 4. It becomes scary because I solely have to rely on you. I cannot produce nothing out here, meaning I'm in this wilderness. I can't do nothing out here, right? I am completely in your hands, under your control. Okay, so you got to understand, whereas they had some control, over there they have absolutely no control. Oh, you got some good desert, some rocks. If you want to eat some rocks and some sand, have at it. Number 5, in the minds of mankind, control is security. Okay, we buy weapons, open up bank accounts, put alarm on properties like your house or your car. We want to feel secure. So we take action. Okay, so when we are not protected, we feel vulnerable, specifically in our emotional state. We feel vulnerable, exposed, unprotected. We lose all this in Yahuwah in the desert. Okay, so when they're in the desert, they lose everything. They are no longer in control of anything. All right, so Yahuwah is saying this relationship will not work until you give up control. We sometimes want this control. We want a little bit of control. But when we take that little bit of control, we start creating, making it much. If you can give me this little bit, let me see how much I can get another foot in the door, right? Okay, so that's what he's looking for. You must be vulnerable and put your trust and love completely in him, right? In me. So this is Shemot. Now let's look at this week's Parsha. This is how this is supposed to go, right? So he's trying to share with them. He can't just slam their laws, statutes, commandments on them, expect them to do it. He had to show them in love. And you're going to see how patient he was with Israel as this was going. Okay? All right. Numbers 11, 8 through 10 says, and the people went about and gathered it, ground in the mills, or beat in the mortars, and baked it in the pans, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was a taste of fresh oil. This is what you're talking about, right? You're saying how you wanted to, you can be creative with this man, right? Okay, keep that, hold on to her tight, Sharat. Hold on to her tight. Number 9. And when the dew fell upon the camp, in the night, the manna fell upon it. And Musa heard the people weeping throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled greatly. Musa also was displeased, right? All right. Number 1, the people were no longer having a hunger issue like before, right? When they first came out of Mitzrayim or Egypt. They were rejecting what was provided for them. Remember, all they had to do was eat the manna. But what did they do? Well, I can grind it, I can beat it more, I can bake it, I can make cakes out of it. All they had to do now was just when it dropped, boom. Thank you, and eat it. Now I want to start processing it. Okay. I want the way I want to do this thing now, Father. Okay? This thing is getting worse. Okay? So remember I said, or some of the ways we were thinking back then, could we be thinking now? Right? So I'm just saying that, let me be creative with this thing. You know, that way it's to my liking. Right? And we're going to see there's going to be a problem with that. All right? They put their touch on it, if you will. Right? That's what you want. You want that friendly touch. Yeah. Their way, they wanted their ways on the manna. The manna wasn't good enough for you. The way he gave it to you, the way he gave it to you wasn't good enough. You want to put your touch on it. Got it. All right, number 3. Yeah, I can make that much better than you, y'all. I can make this thing taste a whole different world if you want me to. All right, number 3, they wanted control again. They do not like their food choice. Remember, the manna was only until they got to the land. Once you get to the land, it's flowing with milk and honey. You can have everything you like. All I'm trying to do is sustain you to see if this bread that I'm giving you, you can work with.
20 days, 20 days.
This whole thing was to prove you're failing, right?
20 days.
So just in the future, Sharat, if she ever say that,
I got it.
you have the right. We'll read it in Numbers. If she say it, you can say, no, abort that vow. You have that right to do so. Just keep that in mind in the future. All right, number 4, they no longer want to be vulnerable to Yahuwah. They wanted options. They wanted options. They speak volumes, right? This speaks a lot about what was happening in their heart. Now they are saying, we changed our minds. We do not want to be vulnerable anymore to you. Now Yahuwah is very angry. He proved himself to be faithful just to be rejected. I gave you rules. You said you obey me, right? All that he has said, we will do. We feasted together. Remember that in Shemot chapter 24? Okay, they feasted together. All this to reject me. And now what? Musha saw this as well. Okay, so we can relate because we want to control the details of our life sometimes. Okay, we do not want to relinquish that part. Number 6 is there is one other reason why Yahuwah is angry. Remember, I told you there's one other reason. Where does this story lead back to? Okay, so I put a different perspective. So first, think about this here. And we already read it, so I'm going to read it really fast. In Numbers 11:1, and when the people complained, it displeased Yahuwah, right? And Yahuwah heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of Yahuwah burned among them and consumed them and were utmost parts of the camp. So what was the other time Yahuwah provided food? Now we got to go back even further to the garden. Now you're going to see another rejection. I provided some food. You didn't like what I provided. You wanted to do something else. Huh?
Make me wise.
Well, I want to put my touch on it. Let's say put respect on it. All right. 2:16. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you should not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. Right? All right. So Adam and Chava was given food, but was told what they couldn't have. At some point, they wanted what they were commanded not to have. They wanted control over what they can eat. So Yahuwah showed them the only way this will happen is for them to work by the sweat of their brow, right? Which we're going to see in a minute. They will learn how to make their own bread. Think about Israel. They were on their way to the promised land. And Yahuwah saw they were not going to listen. They were rejected. So we're going to compare the two stories to see if we can see some resemblance. We're going to see some similarities between the two. Now, so think about what's happening here is what happened. You want to do it your way. You ain't going to do it your way in my garden or in my house. If you think that way, sure, you can make your bread how you want it. You want them fine touches? You want that grind, that mortar? Absolutely. Well, let me show you. You're going to do it by the sweat of your brow. I gave you what you had to eat. You should have been satisfied. But because you didn't want that, sure, I'll give you what you want, but you won't be doing it here. My house, my rules.
That's true to what Yahuwah said, because when they were in the garden, remember, he said he caused it to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they're out of the garden, you got to work
Right.
on your own.
You got to till it.
Right.
You got to make it the way you want to do things. And we're going to see how that works, specifically at the end of this lesson here. All right, so here's a good comparison chart that I put together really fast. Let me see if I can put this right here. All right, so top boxes, it says in the garden or paradise, preparing for the garden, which is the promised land. The promised land is to prepare you how to get back to the garden, if you will, or paradise, and not ready to do his will, your ways, your will, okay? So we're going to compare. We're going to go from left to right here. So the garden was prepared and man was placed in it. No rejection, no cherubims with swords, right? When I say cherubim, I mean cherubims, as it's commonly called. Promised land was prepared, leading mankind back to the garden, which is the picture, right? The cherubims as witnesses. Remember, the Ark of the Covenant had the cherubims on it. No swords, right? I'm trying to show you a picture that is trying to lead us back to a place, which we know in Revelations, it talks about us going into to the kingdom and to the gates where you will see the tree of life, which was in the garden. All right, I see you, Yahuwah. My security is challenged. People are causing me to rethink your ways. Okay, so if that's what's happening to you, what was prepared for you is not for you no more. Okay, he prepares something. All he wants you to do is just be obedient and walk into it. But when you start having your own mindset of what you want to do, if it's pushing your security left and right, but I really want to be able to do this. He's not allowing me to do that. If that's challenging you, you're not ready. All right. They were given what they needed in the garden. He provided it all, a fruitful place. All you had to do was just obey. All right, so they were given what they needed. A reverse of the garden in appearance to test their love. Now, the difference, when I say reverse in the garden, is because now they're in the wilderness or in the desert, right? So it's the reverse, meaning it wasn't all pretty looking, but when it was pretty, you didn't really want that. So if I don't make it pretty and you see that I can do things, I can make it this way, but I need to see if you're willing to. He's testing their love to see if this is true. He noticed that they weren't ready, but it says these conditions is not what I want or no longer want. Double-minded, rebellion, stiff-necked. They started remembering stuff of old. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Eat of every tree other than the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, so they had some good food to eat there in the garden. He's ate manna, the bread of Shamayim or heaven, until the promise in the promised land, paradise in the land of Canaan or Canaan, right? So he's going to make that place like the garden, if you will. But it says, eat by the sweat of your brow, grind, beat in the mortar, do as you see fit. At least it's yours. Mm-hmm. You can't do that here, though. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you want to do it your way, you got that time. Just understand your way and his way. If it don't match, guess who's going to win that battle? I mean, you can try it if you like. That's why people are asking now, when do you think he's coming back? When is he going to gather Israel? Why? So you get yourself together at that moment?
Oh, yeah.
All right. But what does it say in Acts chapter 1?
The Father has reserved that for himself.
That's right. He says not for you to know, right? It's in the Father. So all you have to do is just be obedient. Some people are trying to get a little tricky, they're trying to see how they can get in there. All right. 2 cherubims with swords were placed to prevent return, no longer allowed in his presence. That was the whole point, right? In the garden. Here, 2 cherubims with no swords, his presence will go with them to the promised land. See, now he's showing you the opposite because I'm trying to get you back here. What happens? Contending with Yahuwah, want to love Yahuwah, but in their own way. Want to control, not be no vulnerability, or not. They don't want to be vulnerable, right? So it's almost like saying, I do love you, Yahuwah, to a degree, but I like to love you my way, right? So that way I can put you on and tell you I love you, but I'm going to show you my conditions to how I'm going to love you. Okay? Right.
The way I want.
The way I want.
Yeah.
The house, the car, the bank account, right?
If you do all this for me, then I know this is you.
Yeah.
You know that's how that works.
Everything.
So everything was a gift. The trees of life was there. Remember, the tree of life was in the garden. Gift of love to the tree. It says the gift of love, the tree of good and knowledge for respect or obedience. So in other words, I have everything here. I'm loving you. I said, but I got this one tree in there just to see if you really, really love me, to see if you're going to be obedient. We'll talk about that next year. We need a Parsha from the land. All right. Right here. Covenant, marriage, his spirit, all a gift, right? all to lead back to the tree of life, back to the garden. Because remember, we read in Revelation about us getting back to the tree of life, right? The tree of knowledge of good and evil comes into you to prevent you from making it in. We're going to see how that works, right? So again, because you're not going to have the mixing of the good and the evil in his kingdom. It's not going to work. Okay? We good so far? All right. So now, good, Hebrew word there is tov, and evil is ra, right? And I put color coded, so you'll see what I mean in just a minute. See in verse 18, you're going to see where the word good is really meaning bad. Okay? But anyway, first part, Numbers 10:29. And Moses said unto Hobab, the son of Raguel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, we are journeying unto a place of which Yahuwah said, I will give it you. Come you with us, and we will do you what? Good. For you have spoken concerning Israel. And he said unto him, I will not go, but I will depart to my own land and to my kindred. And he said, leave us not, I pray you. In other words, Moses like, hey, father-in-law, don't you go nowhere. I want you to be a part of this. But he's like, hey, I got to go back to my people. For as much as you know how we are to encamp in the wilderness, and you may be to us instead of eyes. And then it says, it shall be, if you go with us, yea, it shall be that the goodness of Yahuwah shall do unto us, the same will we do unto you. The word do is the word tov. It's the word good in the Hebrew. Okay, so you got 5 goods, if you will, 5 tovs, if you will. Then 11:1 says, and when the people complained, it displeased Yahuwah. It was evil to Yahuwah. And Yahuwah heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of Yahuwah burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. Then Moshe heard the people weeping throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of Yahuwah was kindled greatly. Moshe was also what? It is pleased, same word for evil. Verse 11, and Moshe said unto Yahuwah, wherefore have you afflicted your servant? Wherefore have I not found favor in the sight that you lay the burdens of all this people upon me? And 15 says, and if you deal thus with me, kill me, I pray you, out of the hands where I have found favor in your sight. Let me not see my wretchedness. Again, that word there is evil again. So I want you to see, can you see a picture of the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Okay, the picture is there the whole time. All right. So does this walk sometimes cause you to look back? So let's look. When you think about Tov and Ra, or good and evil, and you are either put in a situation or find yourself in a situation or create a situation that is either in your control or out of your control, could it cause you to want to take control? Leave the walk. Create a walk in which is palatable for you, and even co-sign the creator to it. So however you make up this new thing, and you're saying the Father showed me that. Is his word enough for you to stand on without question? Okay, what can cause this? Okay, so where we lived or grew up created what we thought to be normal. So could what is considered normal is now your measuring tool? Is that love that became your standard? This became the standard that you go by. So if it doesn't meet your standard, we know what scripture says, but if it doesn't meet your standard because of the environment and how you grew up with, could this be the issue? Okay. All right, so when we look at this from the angle of a womb, someone not yet born, Yahuwah from the beginning has been feeding us like a womb does to a child or an unborn. The danger is if the child comes out too early, the possibility of death is greater. The one that comes out once he's met his time. So some are in need of milk and not of meat. They are eating meat and are dying. Okay, this is one of the main reasons we must be born again. We must come as a child to his word and not as a theologian. Some people want to come out there with all the great stuff, but you're going to have to come back because of what we've been in for years, how we were raised. You're going to say, man, I really have to start divorcing a lot of my thinking. And I got to now be born again into his word. This is what I need now in my life. So it's almost like him feeding you back in the womb. Okay. Everyone with me so far? All right. So what happened in the garden when disobedience came into the picture? Death. What happened when the first generation of the children of Israel was disobedient? Death. Right. So the parallels are there. So let's look at the raw a little closer. Now I want to show what we're doing in 11:1. So it says, and when the people complain, what's the Hebrew word there for complain? Kemit onatim, right? Ke, like or as, but this as meet on nim. Okay? So anyway, as complainers. Okay, so it says it displeased Yahuwah, right? And Yahuwah heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of Yahuwah burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. Now, I want us to think about this here. The pattern or in the syntax here for this word here, I'm taking out the prefix of the he there for like or as. So I want you to think of this is in a hitpoel form of the word anan. Okay, that is the root. That is sure rest of it is anan. Anan means to mourn. So I want you to think, what's happening here is he's like, I'm about to take you, this is an 11-day journey. They're about to make it into the land. I'm about to take you into the land and you're mourning about what you had in Egypt. So he knew something, right? All right. They were mourning about what they could have had. Leaven was building up in their hearts. So Numbers 11:4 says, remember, and the mixed multitude that was among them fell in lusting, right? Now look at the word there. I put it out here, it says lusting here or fell into lusting, but the word here, I want you to see this here, literally means they desired a desiring. It's doubled. They're desiring a desiring. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? We remembered the flesh which we did eat in Mitzrayim or Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. So living from the hand of Yahuwah was not enough. The heart changed. Mitzrayim was still in there. I can't bring that into the promised land. See how it changed? The minute he saw that in there, he said, oh my goodness. Oh no, you guys will wander around here for 40 years and die. In the world, I'm going to bring this into the land. All right. Moses is like, man, I need some help.
Yeah.
Remember what he said before. Now I want you to think about what he said before when he was at Mount Sinai earlier. Yet now if you will forgive their sins, and if not, blot me out, I pray you, out of your book which you have written. Strong Moses, right?
Yeah.
He said, wait a minute, Father, if you're not going to forgive Israel, then blot me out too. Right? Sounds good. Then he says, and Moses said unto Yahuwah, wherefore have you afflicted your servant? Wherefore I have not found favor in your sight, right? That you lay the burden of all this people upon me. Now you remember what he said here, right? I pray you, right? All right. He says, I am not able to bear all these people alone because it is too heavy for me. And if you deal thus with me, kill me. I pray you out of the hand, if I have found favor in your sight, and let me not see my wretchedness. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with you. And I will come down and talk with you there, and I will take of the spirit or the ruach, which is upon you, and will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burdens of the people with you, that you bear it not yourself alone. Okay? He said, man, I pray you.
Take me now.
He started off strong, though. I give it to him. He started off really good. He was, if you want them, blot them out too. You blot me out of that, matter of fact. He's, oh my gosh, Father, listen, I can't do this. Help me out, please. All right. 24 says, and Moshe went out and told the people the words of Yahuwah, and gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people, and set them around about the tabernacle. And Yahuwah came down in the cloud and spoke unto him, and took the spirit that was upon him, and gave it unto the 70 elders. And it came to pass that when the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied and did not cease. Anyone know of a time that happened after that? Remember?
Saul?
Huh?
With Saul? With Saul?
Where the spirit came on, they started prophesying.
In
Book of Acts.
Yeah.
All right. He said, but there remained two of the men in the camp. The name of one was Eldad. Okay. And the name of the other was Medad. And the spirit rested. That's the word Nuach, or like Noah's name. Nuach, rested upon them. And they were of them that were written, but went not out unto the tabernacle, and they prophesied in the camp. And there ran a young man and told Moses and said, Eldad and Medad do prophesy in the camp. And Yahushua, the son of Nun, or Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his young men, answered and said, Adonai Moshe Moses, forbid them. Now, have you ever heard this story before somewhere? Remember when they were immersing and the Mashiach said, hey, he said, right, the disciples. And then Moses said unto him, envious you for my sake? Would Elohim that all Yahuwah's people were prophets, and that Yahuwah would put his spirit upon them? And Moses gathered him into the camp, and he and the elders of Israel. Okay, rebellion will increase. We're almost finished now, but I'll just finish this up here. So rebellion will increase in the camp. So remember, here it is. And Mary and Aaron, Aharon, spoke against Moses because of the, what's that word say? Ha-Kushite, right? A Cushite woman, commonly translated in King James as Ethiopian woman, okay? Whom he had married, for he married a Cushite or a Cushite woman. And they said, has Yahuwah indeed spoken only by Moses? Has he not spoken also by us? And Yahuwah heard it. Now the man Moshe was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. She must have been a fine Cushite.
But that's a strange, like the question is rational.
But the funny thing is, the one that's questioning his own brother and sister, right? That's first. The other thing is, yeah, well, but the point would be is, so who else was among them? That's what I'm saying. This mixed multitude is a lot, but we'll keep going. So it says, and Yahuwah spoke suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam. Come out, you three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And Yahuwah came down in the pillar of a cloud and stood at the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words. I want you to pay good, close attention. If there be a prophet among you, I, Yahuwah, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house. With him I will speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of Yahuwah shall he behold. Wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam or Mary, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, Adonai, I beseech you, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he comes out of the mother's womb. And Moses cried unto Yahuwah, saying, heal her now, O Elohim, I beseech you. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. Okay? And rebellion is not an option. Oh, okay, so this is my little closing portion here. This whole time, the wilderness is a place dealing with dry place, right? It's a dry place. All right, so here in Isaiah 53, 1 and 2 says, who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of Yahuwah revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He has no form nor comeliness, and when he shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. Okay, so we believe this is Mashiach, right? But I want you to see here how he's being compared to. What is being compared to? Agricultural things. Does everyone see this? So I'm homing on the word there, dry. That's the word there for dry. Siyah, right? So siyah means someone that's there's barren, dried out, other wilderness, everyone's good, right? All right. Lamentations 4:2. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the works of the hand of the potter? Okay. That's Zion, right? Zion. From. Okay. So the word Zion, it says the root of that word comes from the same word. Everyone's with me so far? So we are the dry bones in a dry place, a place Yahuwah took us to dry out there are our ways, then beautify us in his ways. We have to start putting connections together agriculturally to see how him being the light, the cloud, rain, and we are the earth, dry, in need of his living water and lights. Okay, so we need to start seeing this from a perspective of heaven and earth. Things that are in heaven are designed for things to grow on this earth. And so we're likened to agricultural terms. Is everyone with me so far? All right, so again, all is agricultural in terms here. So we will talk about this in the future, but I just want us to pay attention to these things here. All right, so next week, we'll start talking about their travel. Things that happen, and we'll talk about, well, I'll say that for tomorrow. And then this is the Parsha for next week called what? Shalach. Okay, Shalach. This is the Parsha for next week. This is where you're going to start. It says, Yahuwah spoke unto Moses, saying, and then you have this right here, right? Yahuwah el Moshe Lamor, right? Then we have, send me to spy out the land of Canaan, right? Here's our Parsha right here. Shalach lecha anashim. Come on. Yatru, or as they say, Yaturu et haaretz Canaan, right? But anyway, we'll keep going. It says, Asher ani notain, what? Libnei Yisrael ish. Then the last part is Achad ish achad lemate. What's this last part right here? This is for fathers. So it just gets you trying to figure out where we're at. Right here. Okay, so is Abota Tish Lechu Kol Nasi. Right? And the last part is over here, which is Bahem. All right, so this is the one that we're going to go over next week. We're going to start this all over again. So I know you guys should be fine with that. Hallelujah. And yes, Shealot, which literally means any questions. Okay. So any questions? Do we have any questions at this point? I couldn't hear you. What you say? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Right, right. Those are two different times. Mhm. Yeah, another one? Oh, I think I had a couple questions. I was ready. Okay, you had one. All right, hallelujah.
Who was the Cushite woman that Moses married? Was that Zipporah or was that?
Oh, no, she was a Midianite.
Okay, so was this what Josephus was talking about?
Yeah, so that's to say he had another one.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, but yeah, remember that one, they went home.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, remember they were, Zipporah was with her father and they wound up leaving. When they leave, and he wound up getting a Cushite woman.
Okay.
Or as they would say, an Ethiopian woman. All right. Everyone's good? All right.
If it wasn't a mixed multitude, do you think there would have been less murmuring?
Oh, no. Absolutely not. I think that they were so used to the environment that they were in that a readjustment needed to take place. And all they were was just a catalyst of what was already in their hearts. Because some things you'll see Israel was complaining about that had nothing to do with the mixed multitude. So they were going through this thing throughout the whole time that they were out there. But layman's terms, no, I believe it was already in them. And only thing they did was ignited things that was already in their heart.
Okay,
Mhm.
thanks.
Number one, is it okay to just have unleavened bread and grape juice at Passover?
Absolutely. 11 bread and what else? Yeah, and some lamb. Absolutely, yeah. Uh-huh.
And the lamb.
You really have to get rid of leftovers.
Yeah. Were you in there throwing in the garbage? You made the thing you made set apart, so to speak. So think about it this way. I'm setting the thing apart for a service for the Father to honor him. So once I'm finished honoring him, I should want to still view these things as being set apart. You see what I mean? So therefore, you wouldn't want to say, okay, now we're done, service over. Whoop, let's make this thing common, throw it in the garbage. Next. No, you should want to just look at it as, remember, like, which we'll see in Devarim as well. But when we was in Shemot, how things that were considered set apart, they had to treat it a certain way because it was set apart. So things that we consume, that we're saying that these things are set apart for us, then we have to eat these things in a certain manner. Yeah. But good question. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and someone's asking, is lamb required in the food of the store? Bought lamb bones broken. So I guess they're asking, is a whole lamb required? Or could they just get like a lamb parts?
Right. Right. So for an example, should we go out and find a lamb and kill it? And versus and keeping all the bones versus going to a store and find some lamb chops and things like that, right? So that's why I said we're going to go over the manner and ordinances and similitudes and things like that. But in layman's terms, that the requirement is to have the lamb. The way that they process the lamb in Mitzrayim, are we asking, should we be processing that now? And we would say, no, that's not how that's literally processed with it. They did it back then. However, those that do it does one frown upon it? I don't. But the other part you have to look at it is those, for an example, I think we gave an example last year, those are, let's say, live in a city or live in an apartment. And they're like, well, I can't do this. So what can I do? The best I can do is do what they consider a kukah in Hebrew, basically is memorialize, is zakarun, to memorialize the day. So that's what I'm saying in those terms. But we'll get more into that. I'm not sure if it's going to be me or maybe Yasharon, because I think he's the one that's going to be doing the teaching. But he's going to get more into those parts at that time. Hallelujah. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. If our hearts and minds is clear, we can stand and close. And Eliyahu, you want to close out? I'm going to turn my mic off.
Am I ready?
Yeah.
Baruch atah Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam. Shabbat shalom and Hashemayim. Shabbat shalom to Yashra'al scattered to the four corners of the earth. And Father, we like to say Hallel Yahuwah. We uplift your name, we honor your name, and we magnify your name. We say Todah Rabbayah for the fellowship that we have had on your set apart day, on the Yom Shabbat that we have kept set apart. And we esteem you, Abba. We esteem you for giving us your dear son, your beloved son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who according in your time shall return for his bride and take us back to our land, even according to your promise that you made to all of our forefathers. Abba, we pray that everyone's heart, not just here in this fellowship, Father, but across the world, that their heart was ready to hear your word, to receive from your Ruach. And even as our Mashiach said, we pray that your word take root deep down in our hearts, that we indeed may be the children of Elohim to keep and guard your commandments. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, that we say Hallel Yah, Baruch atah Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We're gonna break the bread.
Break the bread.
Go, my king.
Don't grind it up.
No,
That's one. Look at the other. Oh, yeah, that's good.
he did somewhere. Come here, Sadu.
The babies.
Everything good.
Hey, so my king, so good. Yeah. No.
What's going on?